So now I want to talk about editing the TRS2 split task after you've made once you've made the group. So we're going to create items using the task group feature. We're going to draw the box. We're going to base it on one of our existing groups, and these are slightly more complex than the other groups. So we want to just examine exactly how they behave. So we've got this situation in front of us. We might want to just have a brief look, because this is positioning the train, the resources on here. We've got all of the information, including the auto hoppers at the end. So once it's been set up, the train is split, and this section is just the locomotive and the auto hoppers, and so they move from the position to from where the train splits to the end, and then they start working from this point onwards, and I'm going to explain how that comes about. So you might want to say, well, in the main one we've got we might have 15 wagons here, so you can change the setup, but we're not going to push that into the following activity with the synchronize on reschedule link option, because this hasn't got the locomotive and the auto hopper. So we've also got to edit that. But having done that, if we press F9, that will be passed on into the wrap-up of the TRS. But some explanation of what's happening with the snagging. So we've got the snagging, and that's got a logic link to the relay. There is a sorry, it's predecessor here from the relay, and that's a distance to successor link. So no part of the snagging activity can bump into any part of the train, and we've given it 10 yards of margin for just working space and a little bit of safety. So no matter the size of the train, it's going to always sit outside the footprint of the train, and after 100 yards of that, we've got a link that's saying 100 yards after you've finished the first 100 yards of snagging, you can start doing the thimble rail. And then we've stopped the snagging and the thimble rail, and we pause and we finish it off more quickly, and that's because we want this auto hoppers to go past as quickly as possible. And so these activities are linked to a subsequent activity, and that link has got the attribute to size the successor. So if we change the size of this after reschedule, it will also change the start of the preceding activity, as well as these thimbling also following it. And the positioning of the train here is because we've got a link from this last activity to the from the thimbling, and that's a sorry, from the snag, and that's a distance link, and so that's keeping this activity away. So when we reschedule, that edge of the activity can't bump into this activity, because it's saying 10 yards after the edge of it, you're gonna you can't bump into that for 10 yards. So doesn't matter where this sits. So we could move that on a little bit, press F9, and we can optimize that position. So the links are operating that behavior. So the other thing is, if we change the length of this, everything else will follow, apart from the snagging. So you need to change the snagging item. Also, you've got to change its length, F9, and potentially you've also got to change the length of the second stacking, so it ends at the right place if you want to change the length, and then everything else will work. So because this is split, the train setup on these two is the same, this is different, the train setup on this one and this one are the same, and that will have an effect. But the distance, if you change the distance of the train, because it's a split and it's complicated, you've also got to change the distance of the snagging, so that we set that to the end, and we move that along a little bit, and then we press F9 and the whole thing sorts itself out. So well worth just having a play with that and familiarizing yourself, because that's the best way of seeing it. So that's how we might use the TRS split task group.